Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to talk to you about 8 common mistakes that people make when starting to automate their company. And if you're just starting your automation journey, I'm sure that you have made at least one of these mistakes. Let's get started. The first mistake is not having enough clarity about what are going to automate first. So let's say that you have a business with a bunch of different manual processes and tasks, but how do you decide which one you're going to start with, which one I'm going to automate first? So that's why it's really important to do an audit, to really understand the amount of hours that you spend with each of those processes, so you can identify those low-hanging fruits, the ones that are more simple, that will generate the most hours saved on your business. So those are the ones that you can and you should start with when automating your company. So now that you have decided what process to automate, the second mistake is not having enough clarity about what are all the steps that need to happen on that process. So before taking your process online, before automating your process, you need to make sure that that process is working offline, is working manually. So that's why it's really important to map all the steps that need to happen on that process. With that, it's going to be a lot easier for you to then build an automation to automate that process. Okay, so now you understand the steps, and now you're going to start to automate that process. And the third mistake is not testing your automation. You need to make sure that all the different steps of the automation, the trigger and other actions are working fine before you start running it live. So that's why testing is really important, and you shouldn't skip any testing phase for all your steps. That way you ensure that everything is working fine, and you will avoid a bunch of mistakes and a bunch of different errors that can happen on the automation. The fourth mistake is not tracking the logs. Okay, so now you have the automation running, you have the automation live, and you forget about it, right? And it's important that you, from time to time, that you track all the logs and you track all the outputs of the automation to make sure that everything is working fine, the data is correct, there is no mistake, and if there is a mistake, where is that mistake on the entire automation, in which step, in which tool, in which module, right? So that's why it's important to track and to check the automation from time to time, at least once a week, for example, so just so you can make sure that everything is running fine. The fifth mistake is just using one tool. This is really important because a lot of people think about automation is just like Zapier, but Zapier is just one tool, one automation tool. And just one method of building automation. There are a bunch of different ways that you can automate your processes. And if you just use Zapier, for example, you are limiting the capacity and everything that you can do with your processes and with your automations. So if you're just using one tool, of course, it's completely fine to start with Zapier or with Make, because they are no-code automation tools that you can easily start with. But as you start building more processes, as you start making your automation more complex, you're gonna need to learn other methods. You're gonna need to learn, for example, how to connect to an API tool, an API docs, or setting up webhooks, or even writing custom scripts. That way you're gonna have the full capacity of automation. So don't limit yourself with just one tool. The next mistake is not training your team in the automation, right? And that's key. If you are automating a process that's very manual, and especially that involves one or more team members, you're gonna need to train them how to trigger the automation in the right way. If you automate a process and your team doesn't know how to use it, then it won't matter like you're gonna have a process, you're gonna have an automation that won't work properly, right? With the right data. So you need to train your team on everything that they have to do to properly trigger that automation and to properly use the data that the automation is generating as an output. One of the best ways to train your team is to either record a Loom video and walk them through all the steps that need to happen on that automation, and especially how to properly trigger that process. And also other ways to write it down on an SOP, even like using platforms like Scribe or ClickUp or Monday, or even in a Google Docs, how to, the step-by-step process of how to properly trigger the automation and how the automation actually works. The seventh mistake is not updating your automation when you change your process. That's really important because the automation, of course, is just a reflection of your internal process. If you are a company that's growing, or even like if you need to change your process, if you need to change the tool that you are using or the rules of your tasks, you need to reflect that on the automation. So every time you change anything on your process, you need to change your automation. You need to update your automation. Otherwise, you're going to start having bad data. You're going to start having errors on your automation. So the automation, again, is a reflection of your process. If your process changes, then so does your automation. And again, that's why it's important to keep track of your logs, of your runs, of your automation, to make sure that it's reflecting your internal process. And last but not least, the eighth mistake is just automating one process, right? So if you just automate one simple process, that's not going to be a game changer for your business, right? You need to automate more and more processes so you can really start seeing the value of having automation inside your company, inside your business. Once you start automating different processes, and especially once you start connecting those automations and in just one big system, that's when you're going to start seeing everything that automation can do for your business. All the hours saved, all the scalability that you can have on your business, it's going to happen once you have this full system running for your company. Okay, so hope you liked this video. Please let me know in the comment below which of these mistakes have you done already. And of course, as always, if you're ready to start taking your business to the next level, if you're ready to start automating your processes, just click on the link down below so we can get on a call and we can show you all the benefits that automation can have on your company, right? Thank you and see you on the next video.